Oh, hello everyone. I almost didn't see you there. It's good to have you all back. Well, it's time to get on with the next act for Inverno in F minor. This next act is called Breakfast in E major. Now, after everything we've seen, a nice hearty breakfast and pleasant conversation is exactly what we need to break all the tension surrounding Inverno and everyone else he's in contact with. Please enjoy Inverno in F minor, written by Cracked Inkwell. Chapter 7. Breakfast in E major. The guard by Inverno's side as he walked through the crystal halls didn't help him feel any better. The colt himself had caught the guard giving him a certain look a few times as he was escorted through the labyrinth of the palace. It wasn't one of those weird looks, nor was it warm, but the look of that sea green crystal guard was giving him was a cold one. While the guard himself didn't say a word to him, Inverno knew what that look meant. After all, he had seen his father give him that look before, whenever any of the slaves messed up. His escort's eyes seemed to ask, "Why are you still living?" Inverno was led into a room that was big enough to fit his organs several times over. There were high ceilings and tall vaulted windows that looked out to the empire below. In front of him were the 3 Alicorn princesses, as well as the 1 prince, dining at a table together. 1 vacant pillow sat between Shining Armor and Celestia, a feather cushion expecting him. Cadence was the first to notice the colt in the room. She gave him a warm, welcoming smile. "Good morning," she said. "Care to join us?" He took a moment to glance around the room. He found the only other ponies in the room beside the royals were himself and a couple of maids that were kept at a safe distance from him. Beside them was a cart that had several shiny domes in several sizes. Inverno trotted up to the empty seat and took his place amongst them. "What would you like this morning?" Celestia asked after sipping her cup of tea. Inverno's stomach roared loudly, and he realized at that moment that he had hardly eaten anything since... He couldn't remember when was the last time he ate. Looking at their plates, he saw pancakes soaked in dark maple syrup, eggs on toast with a side of fruit that he couldn't identify, and a bowl of soup that had chunks of vegetables swimming in a yellow broth. And there was Luna's plate, holding a plate of noodles with a red sauce. This was confusing to Inverno, because when, or if he ever got pasta, it was always a dinner item. So naturally, he asked,
How come... What's your name again?
"Luna," she answered.
How come Luna's eating pasta? Isn't it something that you would eat for dinner?
The Princess of the Night nodded. "Quite. We can see thy confusion, for we do not blame thee. Most ponies that see us dine are often baffled as well. Ye see, we are nocturnal most of the time. That is, unless Cell has to us to be awake early for either court or some emergency." The young unicorn blinked.
Nocturnal?
She means that she's awake during the night and is asleep all day.
Shining explained before taking a bite of his toast.
So in a way, her order in eating is a bit backwards.
Oh. Why didn't she say so?
Inverno commented, looking back at the bowl of strange fruit on Shining Armor's plate.
What's that?
Shining asked, looking to what the young unicorn was pointing at.
Oh, it's the fruit salad.
When Inverno gave him a blank look, he explained,
It has pieces of bananas, raisins, some watermelon, apples, marshmallows, strawberries.
Shining trailed off when Inverno's expression didn't change. Using his magic, He lifted the little bowl over to him.
You know what? Just try some.
At first, he stared at the bowl for a moment before picking the bowl up in his red aura to examine it closely. After sniffing it a few times, he focused his magic on one particular piece of fruit that was mostly white, has round edges and two nearly flat sides, along with a slimy-like texture. After putting it in his mouth and gave it a few chews, the flavor was as unrecognizable to him as the fruit itself. There was sweetness, almost creamy, but not quite. He repeated this with some of the other ingredients in the bowl. Examine and taste. Finally, after going through each one, he tilted his head back and let the salad fall into his mouth. Looks like some pony is going to need a few lessons in manners, Cadence commented, amused. Would you like more? When he said that he would, the maids in the room dished up another bowl for him to consume. Inverno, Celestia started, trying to engage a conversation with him. Do you mind if I ask you something? Do you remember, a few days ago, when you heard about your father's passing and got angry? Inverno took a moment to swallow before answering.
Of course I do. Why?
Do you recall that the crystal floor beneath you creaked? The colt nodded, but didn't understand where she was going with this. My question here is this. How did you break the floor like that? The young unicorn scratched the back of his head.
I'm not sure, but it has happened before when I got mad. Whenever I get mad. Papa said I should learn to control my temper because whenever I do get angry, really angry, things around me just break. I could remember how not only the floor and walls crack, but sometimes a bunch of stuff too. Like the time that when I was playing on the organ and Papa told me to go to bed. I didn't want to, and I got so mad that my hooves broke the keyboard. Sometimes, if I get incredibly angry, things tend to break without me touching them. Like, I remember this one time where a sleigh pony kept messing up with everything I told it to do. I got so angry, I thought about crushing it. Then suddenly, that pony scared me because it did something that none did before. It screamed.
The dining room became quiet, but Inverno added,
I watched it grow smaller until it made a mess. I'm not exactly sure what it was that leaked out, but Papa was really surprised by this. Since then, he told me that I really must watch my anger. But I don't know why it happens, though.
Luna was the first to speak after a shocked pause. And this pony, did he or she live?
Yeah,
Inverno nodded.
it did whine and move funny until Papa came in.
After taking another mouthful of salad, he asked,
You know, since Papa's gone, what should I do now? I mean, I don't have any more music to copy, and Papa hasn't taught me how to be king because he said I wasn't old enough.
An excellent question. Cadence nodded, finishing up her pancakes. As well as an interesting point, considering that you've pointed out that you're too inexperienced to rule. So, tell us, how good are you at the organ? I imagine that it must be difficult to play. Inverno shook his head.
No, not really. I know how to play it. I know how to play it as well as I read music. After all, I learned how to read the music before I learned the alphabet. Besides, I've written some music too.
But what about all the music you copied? I mean, why have you copied a mountain of music for?
Shining asked.
Because Papa said that I should know music better than anyone in the whole kingdom.
Inverno answered.
He told me that music is the greatest tool to influence a kingdom, in that it's so powerful that if I do it just right, I could control what others think, feel, and do when music is playing. So he told me that he banned all music in the empire to be wiped out, but before he did, he brought me some of the good music for me to copy so I can study them, so I can find out what made them so good before he takes the originals away. Are you going to make me copy music?
Oh, no, no. Cadence shook her head. We're not going to do that. If anything, the musicians here in the Empire, whether they admit it or not, owe a debt to you for saving its music from being lost forever. If it wasn't for you making all those copies, our pony's favorite songs might have been long forgotten. Inverno tilted his head.
Really?
Cadence nodded. Although, Celestia said, getting up from her seat, I do think that you should still be educated, not just in music, but in other subjects as well. Going to a public school outside of the palace is out of the question, for I fear they will mistreat you. So I will send a hoofful of tutors to you until the Empire's feelings subside. Although, before we return to Canterlot, I'm rather curious about your musical skills. Would you mind playing something for us before we depart? And that was Chapter 7, to Inverno and F minor. Every pony, I do believe we all love pleasant breakfast conversation, but I don't think any of us were expecting it to go like that. Even if it did lighten up in the end, Inverno's explanation of what happens when he gets angry was something I don't think any of us thought was going to come up. I do hope you also enjoyed it. And the next chapter is in production, so please be patient and wait a bit longer. I do hope we all look forward to Inverno's playing in the next chapter as well. I'm sure it'll be something amazing